Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that grocery store shelves are stripped bare. The supply chains that once kept food flowing like clockwork have crumbled. Prices have skyrocketed, and essentials have vanished overnight. In a world where uncertainty is the new normal, those who aren't prepared will be left scrambling. But not the Amish. For centuries, they've perfected the art of self-sufficiency, preserving food in ways that don't rely on modern technology. No freezers, no refrigeration, no preservatives. Just pure survival wisdom passed down through generations, ensuring their stockpiles last not just for years, but potentially forever. Today, we're revealing 12 surprising foods the Amish stockpile. Foods that never expire if stored correctly. These aren't just survival staples. They are time-tested, crisis-proof provisions that can outlast your car, your fridge, and maybe even your mortgage. Before we dive in, if you find this video valuable, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Preppers Community for more life-saving tips. Let's get started with number 12. Kicking off the list at number 12, whole spices and herbs, the flavor that never dies. Most people don't think twice about tossing out spices once they hit their so-called expiration date. But here's the truth. Spices don't actually expire, at least not the way most people think. The Amish have known this for centuries, which is why their pantries are stocked with whole, unprocessed spices that can remain potent for decades. Unlike ground spices, which lose their aroma and strength over time, whole spices like cinnamon sticks, cloves, and peppercorns don't just last, they actually intensify in flavor. The essential oils inside remain locked away, preserved naturally, until the moment they're ground and released. The longer they're stored properly, the more powerful they become. But spices aren't just about flavor, they've been a lifeline for survival. In the 1800s, spices were so valuable they were literally used as currency, traded across continents, and even fought over in wars. In a crisis, having a stockpile of whole spices isn't just about taste, it's about bartering power. The Amish understand this well. They store their spices in airtight glass jars, away from heat, moisture, and sunlight, ensuring their potency lasts for years, if not a lifetime. While others are scrambling for flavorless, expired seasonings, the Amish are enjoying bold, rich flavors that only get better with time. So the next time you see whole cinnamon sticks or dried peppercorns at the store, grab them. They're not just seasonings, they're survival tools. Up next, at number 11, cocoa powder, the chocolate that lasts forever. When people think of chocolate, they imagine something that melts, spoils, or expires within months. But what if I told you there's a way to preserve the essence of chocolate indefinitely? The Amish have figured it out, and their secret is pure, unsweetened cocoa powder, a survival staple that can last for decades without losing its rich, deep flavor. The reason cocoa powder survives the test of time is simple. It contains zero moisture and zero dairy. While milk chocolate or even dark chocolate bars can spoil due to their fat content, pure cocoa powder remains untouched by time, as long as it's kept in an airtight container, away from heat and humidity. The Amish store it in glass jars or vacuum-sealed containers to ensure no moisture ever gets in, keeping it as fresh as the day it was ground. But cocoa powder isn't just about having a sweet treat, it's a powerful survival food. In times of crisis, a hot cup of cocoa can lift morale, provide a comforting boost of energy, and even serve as a valuable bartering item. Plus, cocoa is packed with antioxidants that help reduce stress and improve mental clarity, two things you'll need when facing tough times. So while most people overlook cocoa powder as just another pantry item, the Amish know the truth. It's not just food, it's a survival luxury that lasts forever. Now, let's move on to number 10, maple syrup, liquid gold that never spoils. Most people think of maple syrup as just something you drizzle over pancakes. But the Amish see it for what it truly is, a natural, unspoiled survival sweetener that lasts forever. Forget the artificial pancake syrups loaded with corn syrup, preservatives, and additives. Those won't last, and they offer zero nutritional value. Real, 100% pure maple syrup is an entirely different story. If stored properly in a sealed glass container and kept in a cool, dark place, it will remain fresh, safe, and completely usable for decades. Even if it crystallizes over time, that doesn't mean it's gone bad. A little heat will bring it right back to life, good as new. That's why the Amish stockpile it, not just as a food item, but as an essential survival ingredient. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Amish don't just use maple syrup for breakfast. They use it in place of processed sugar for baking, preserving fruits, curing meats, and even in medicinal remedies. Maple syrup contains antioxidants, minerals, and nutrients that processed sugar lacks, making it one of the healthiest and most versatile sweeteners in existence. In a survival situation, sugar may become scarce, but those who have real maple syrup won't have to worry. It's not just a sweetener, it's liquid gold. Up next, at number 9, dried pasta, the ultimate prepper staple. When it comes to long-term survival foods, few options are as dependable, versatile, and easy to store as durum wheat pasta. While most people rush to stockpile canned goods or freeze-dried meals, the Amish have long understood that properly stored dried pasta can remain fresh and edible for over 25 years, without refrigeration, preservatives, or complex storage systems. This is why it remains a cornerstone of their long-term food reserves. The key to pasta's longevity is its extremely low moisture content. Unlike fresh or homemade varieties that can spoil quickly, durum wheat pasta is naturally dry and dense, creating an inhospitable environment for bacteria, mold, or pests. When stored correctly, sealed in mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, and kept in a cool, dark, and dry location, dried pasta can essentially become a timeless food source, remaining just as nutritious and usable decades later as the day it was packaged. But stockpiling pasta isn't just about how long it lasts. It's about how practical and energy efficient it is in a survival situation. In times of crisis, you need foods that are calorie-dense, easy to prepare, and comforting to eat. All it takes is boiling water and a simple heat source to transform dried pasta into a hearty, filling meal that can sustain you through tough times. It requires no special skills or elaborate cooking techniques, making it an ideal emergency food that can be adapted into countless recipes. For the Amish, pasta is much more than just a convenience. It's a staple that integrates seamlessly into their self-sufficient lifestyle. They pair it with canned vegetables, preserved meats, homemade sauces, and dried herbs to create nutritious, well-balanced meals that require minimal effort but provide maximum sustenance. If supply chains collapse and grocery store shelves are stripped bare, having a well-stocked reserve of dried pasta could mean the difference between going hungry and having a warm, nourishing meal that keeps you strong and focused. It's not just about survival, it's about thriving even in the hardest of times. Now, coming in at number 8, hardtack, the biscuit that lasts a lifetime. Hardtack isn't just food, it's a survival legend that has stood the test of time for centuries. This nearly indestructible bread was the fuel of empires, carried by sailors on long sea voyages, soldiers marching through wars, and pioneers braving the harsh unknown. Why? Because it never goes bad. Unlike modern bread that molds in days, hardtack is virtually immortal. It's made from just 3 basic ingredients: flour, water, and salt. Yet it can last for decades if stored properly. No refrigeration, no preservatives, just pure survival efficiency. The secret to its longevity lies in its bone-dry composition. With all moisture removed, bacteria and mold don't stand a chance. This is why the Amish still make and stockpile hardtack to this day, knowing that in an emergency, it's a food source they can count on. Now, let's be honest. Eating hardtack dry is like trying to chew on a rock. It's tough, dense, and unforgiving. But the trick isn't in biting it. It's in reviving it. The Amish soak hardtack in soup, coffee, or broth, allowing it to soften and transform into a filling, life-saving meal. Even in the harshest conditions, a single piece of hardtack can provide the energy needed to keep going. In a world where food shortages can strike overnight, having a stockpile of hardtack could mean the difference between hunger and survival. It's the ultimate crisis food, built to outlast the modern world, and those who prepare now will be the ones who thrive when others are struggling. Now, let's move on to number 7, lard, the forgotten superfood. Before the rise of highly processed vegetable oils and artificial butter substitutes, lard was the foundation of every kitchen. It was a survival essential, providing not only a stable, long-lasting fat source, but also a dense energy reserve in times when food was scarce. And here's the truth: the Amish never abandoned it. Properly rendered and stored, lard can last for years without refrigeration. Unlike butter, which spoils quickly, or vegetable oils that go rancid, lard remains shelf-stable, making it an ideal survival fat. The Amish know that fat is crucial for survival. It provides calories, helps the body absorb nutrients, and keeps you fueled during tough times. But its uses go far beyond just cooking. Lard is a multi-purpose survival tool. It can be used in baking, frying, preserving meats, and even making soap and candles. In the days before electricity, Amish households relied on lard to produce emergency lighting, proving that it's not just food, it's survival fuel. And unlike the mass-produced, preservative-laden oils found in grocery stores, Amish home-rendered lard is 100% pure. No additives, no artificial chemicals, just a natural, nutrient-rich fat that's been used for centuries. In a world where supply chains can collapse overnight, those who understand the true value of lard will have a priceless survival resource, one that keeps them fed, fueled, and prepared for whatever comes next. Next up, at number 6, ghee, the butter that never spoils. If there's one thing that separates ghee from regular butter, it's that it never goes bad. At least not in the way fresh dairy products do. The Amish have relied on this time-tested survival fat for generations, knowing that properly prepared ghee can last for years without refrigeration. The secret? All the water and milk solids are removed, leaving behind pure, golden clarified butter that is immune to spoilage. Without moisture, bacteria and mold have nowhere to grow, making it one of the most stable fats for long-term storage. But ghee isn't just about longevity. It's about versatility and survival practicality. With its rich, nutty flavor, it can be used for frying, baking, cooking, or even spread over hardtack or survival bread to make a meal far more satisfying. It has a higher smoke point than regular butter, meaning it won't burn as easily, making it ideal for cooking over open flames or wood stoves, something the Amish have perfected. And here's the kicker. Ghee isn't a new trend. It has been a staple in ancient civilizations for thousands of years. From India to the Middle East to Amish communities today, it has been valued not just as a cooking fat, but as a medicinal ingredient, an energy booster, and even a form of currency in some cultures. In a world where fresh dairy can disappear overnight, having ghee in your stockpile means you'll always have a reliable, shelf-stable fat source that's as useful today as it was centuries ago. Coming in at number 5, apple cider vinegar, nature's miracle liquid. Most people think of apple cider vinegar as nothing more than a salad dressing ingredient. But for the Amish, it's an irreplaceable survival tool that has stood the test of time. In fact, some Amish families have bottles of homemade apple cider vinegar that have been passed down for generations, still just as potent and effective as the day they were made. That's because, unlike most food products, this incredible liquid never expires. The secret lies in its natural fermentation process. Because it's already highly acidic, bacteria and mold can't survive in it, making it immune to spoilage. While most pantry staples eventually degrade, apple cider vinegar actually improves with age, much like fine wine. The Amish understand that, which is why every well-prepared homestead has a steady supply of this multi-purpose elixir. But apple cider vinegar isn't just about food. It's one of the most versatile survival ingredients in existence. The Amish use it to preserve fruits and vegetables, ensuring their harvest lasts long beyond the growing season. They rely on it as a natural cleaner and disinfectant, replacing store-bought chemical products with something far more sustainable. It's also used for digestion, immune support, soothing sore throats, and even relieving insect bites. There are even historical records of people using it as a natural remedy for infections, skin conditions, and inflammation. Think about that for a second. In a world where supply chains are unreliable and medications may become scarce, something as simple as apple cider vinegar could be the difference between being prepared and being vulnerable. It's not just vinegar, it's a survival essential, a natural preservative, and an all-purpose healer. When the modern world fails, those with a stockpile of apple cider vinegar won't just have an ingredient, they'll have a solution. Next on the list, at number 4, hard cheese, waxed cheese wheels. The secret to cheese that lasts years. Cheese is one of those foods most people assume can't survive without refrigeration. But the Amish have perfected a method that allows cheese to last years, even decades, without spoiling. The secret? Waxed cheese wheels. Unlike the pre-shredded, preservative-laden cheese found in grocery stores that molds within weeks, hard cheeses sealed in wax form a protective barrier against moisture, bacteria, and air exposure. This preservation technique, used for centuries before refrigeration even existed, allows cheese to age naturally and develop even richer flavors over time. The Amish rely on this method to stockpile cheese as a long-term food source, ensuring they have access to essential fats, proteins, and nutrients long after fresh dairy is gone. While most people panic when the power goes out, worrying about food spoilage, the Amish simply cut into a block of aged cheddar, Gouda, or Parmesan, perfectly preserved, ready to eat. But there's more to it than just longevity. Waxed cheese is an ideal survival food because it's calorie-dense, requires no refrigeration, and can be stored virtually anywhere. Whether tucked away in a root cellar, pantry, or survival bunker, a properly sealed cheese wheel will remain fresh, edible, and packed with nutrients for years. In a world where grocery shelves can empty overnight, having a stockpile of waxed hard cheese means you'll always have a source of protein and fat when others are left scrambling. The Amish understand that true preparedness isn't just about stocking up, it's about knowing how to make food last. Moving on to number 3, raw honey, the eternal superfood. Imagine discovering a jar of food that was sealed over 3,000 years ago, and it's still perfectly edible. Sounds impossible, right? But that's exactly what happened when archaeologists uncovered ancient Egyptian tombs and found jars of honey that were just as good as the day they were sealed. That's because raw honey is one of the only foods on Earth that never spoils. What makes honey so indestructible? It's all about its unique composition. Honey is naturally antibacterial, antifungal, and has an extremely low water content. This means bacteria, mold, and microorganisms simply can't survive in it. While other sweeteners degrade, ferment, or attract pests, honey remains perfectly preserved indefinitely, provided it's stored in a sealed container and kept away from excessive moisture. The Amish have relied on raw, unprocessed honey for centuries, not just as a food source but as a survival essential. They use it for cooking, baking, preserving fruits, fermenting, and even as a medicinal remedy. Honey has been used for healing wounds, soothing sore throats, relieving allergies, and even as a natural skin treatment. It's not just a sweetener, it's a powerful, all-purpose survival tool. And here's something most people don't realize. Commercial honey isn't the same as raw honey. The highly processed versions found in grocery stores are often heated and stripped of their natural enzymes and nutrients. But real raw honey, the kind the Amish produce in stockpile, retains all of its antimicrobial properties, making it far more valuable in a survival situation. In a crisis, when sugar supplies are cut off and access to medicine is scarce, those who have raw honey won't just have food. They'll have a natural remedy, an energy booster, and a bartering commodity all in one jar. The Amish understand that true preparedness means stocking up on foods that don't just last, but provide real value when it matters most. Now, let's talk about number 2, whole wheat berries, the Amish secret to fresh flour. Most people stock up on bags of flour, thinking they'll last long-term. But here's the problem. Flour goes rancid within months. The moment grain is milled into flour, it begins losing its nutrients, absorbing moisture, and attracting pests. That's why the Amish don't store flour. They store wheat berries. Wheat berries are the pure, unprocessed whole form of wheat, essentially the same grain that fed civilizations for thousands of years. Unlike flour, wheat berries can last for decades if stored properly, providing an unlimited supply of fresh, nutrient-rich flour whenever needed. By grinding their own flour only when necessary, the Amish ensure that every batch is fresh, full of nutrients, and free from preservatives or chemicals. But the benefits go far beyond just making bread. Whole wheat berries are incredibly versatile. They can be sprouted for extra nutrition, boiled and eaten like rice, or even ground into porridge. In times of crisis, having a stockpile of wheat berries means access to an almost endless supply of food, whether it's for baking, cooking, or simply staying fed when resources are scarce. And here's another critical advantage. Properly stored wheat berries are virtually indestructible. Sealed in mylar bags with oxygen absorbers and kept in a cool, dry place, they can last 30 years or more. While others are struggling to find food, those who have wheat berries will have one of the most reliable, long-lasting survival staples known to man. For the Amish, wheat berries aren't just an ingredient, they're food security. And in a world where supplies can vanish overnight, knowing how to store, grind, and use them is a survival skill that could mean the difference between hunger and self-sufficiency. And finally, at number 1, freeze-dried meat, the ultimate survival protein. When it comes to long-term food storage, nothing is more essential than a reliable protein source. While grains and dried foods can keep you going, without protein, your body will weaken, your energy will drop, and survival becomes infinitely harder. That's why the Amish prioritize freeze-dried meat, a protein-packed, ultra-lightweight, and shelf-stable food that can last up to 25 years without refrigeration. Unlike frozen meat, which requires electricity and is useless when the power goes out, freeze-dried meat is completely self-sustaining. The freeze-drying process removes 98% of moisture, preventing bacteria and mold from ever taking hold. When stored properly, in mylar bags or vacuum-sealed containers with oxygen absorbers, This meat stays as fresh decades later as the day it was dried. But longevity isn't the only advantage. It's also incredibly easy to prepare. Unlike canned meats, which can be heavy and bulky, freeze-dried meat is lightweight, portable, and retains its original texture and taste when rehydrated. Just add water, and in minutes it's ready to use in soups, stews, casseroles, or eaten as is for a high-protein survival snack. For the Amish, having a stable protein source is non-negotiable. They stockpile freeze-dried beef, chicken, and even fish, knowing that protein is the key to sustaining energy, strength, and endurance, especially in a crisis. In a long-term survival scenario, those who fail to store protein-rich foods will suffer from fatigue, muscle loss, and weakened immunity. But those who have freeze-dried meat in their stockpile will have the fuel needed to stay strong, alert, and ready for anything. This isn't just a survival food, it's a survival necessity. While most people focus on stocking grains and canned goods, the Amish know the truth. Protein isn't optional, it's essential. And when the world is struggling to find food, those who have freeze-dried meat will have the ultimate survival advantage. There you have it, 12 surprising foods the Amish stockpile that never expire. These aren't just ordinary pantry items. They are survival essentials, foods that can outlast economic collapses, food shortages, and even natural disasters. The Amish have perfected the art of food preservation without modern technology, refrigeration, or artificial preservatives. Their methods have stood the test of time, proving that true preparedness isn't just about stocking up. It's about knowing how to make food last. But here's the real question. How prepared are you? If supply chains collapsed tomorrow, if grocery store shelves were suddenly empty, would you have what you need to keep going? Start building your own long-term survival stockpile while you still can. These 12 foods are not just Amish secrets, they're survival lifelines. And if you found this video valuable, hit that like button and subscribe to Preppers Community for more life-saving survival tips. Drop a comment below. What's one food you think should be in every prepper's pantry? Stay ready, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.